What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and this is my Forma building guide for this month's Hall of Forms featuring Binding Blade units, Igrene, Guinivere, Spring Fir, and Spring Narcian. We have 8 new skills added to the Hall of Forms pool, including the very coveted Tier 4 smoke skills which a lot of people have been waiting for. So let us begin with Igrene. She is a red infantry archer with Guardian's Bow as her preferred weapon. This does give her -1 special cooldown, so that is really good with special spiral and AoE specials, and her base kit is actually pretty decent to function as an AoE spammer, and she could be used for the PvE content with multiple dancers because of it. And then her weapon does give her -5 attack speed and defense debuff on the opponent if she's got more speed than the foe. So this effect is definitely not as lenient as a lot of the modern weapons. Nowadays units just get the stats for existing, but Igrene has to meet that speed check. She can easily win the speed check against most of the slow units, but against the fast units, she's going to be missing out on getting this debuff on them. And she is due for a weapon refine because she is a book 3 unit, so she's probably going to be getting a refine in a span of a year. So Igrene overall is a pretty decent archer, but she does face competition until she gets some kind of weapon refine, so most people are going to be picking her up if they like her a lot as a character or they are optimistic about her refine and want to eventually invest into her. So like I said, her base kit is pretty decent, but still you can enhance her kit by having some more premium skills. In Hall of Forms, you cannot name any better duo than an Archer and Deadeye, so definitely try and get Deadeye because it's a premium special, and Igrene does have a good enough attack stat to make use of it, and Guardian's Bow does give her -1 special cooldown as well. You can also try and get some alternate premium bows, even though most of the time she's going to be using Guardian's Bow. So you can try and get Springy Bow, which does give her more offenses, or Fire Sweep Bow, which is rare, and also Spendthrift Bow. So all of those are going to be the options. And for Slaughter, her main options are going to be Attack Speed Ideal or Attack Speed Unity. Attack Speed Ideal gives you the most offenses, and Attack Speed Unity can work to protect you from the debuffs. And then for her Slot B, her best Forma skill to pick up is going to be Speed Defense Tempo. Not only it's a rare skill, but it's also a useful skill offensively, especially with Deadeye and Time Pulse. So Tempo skill allows you to fire off her Deadeye on her second hit with this kind of build. And if you're running her with Rattle Katria, then it is going to be becoming even easier for you. And if you end up giving her Whitecap Bow Plus from Summer Elincia, then the Tempo skill can also be really good. And Whitecap Bow is not really present in the Hall of Forms because Summer Elincia is way too recent, but still Tempo skill is overall going to be the best option to pick up here. Even though Null Follow-Up also works really well, but it's a lot easily available compared to the Tempo skill. You can get Time Pulse for her Slot C so that Deadeye becomes a 1-turn special, and you can also use this to pre-charge 2 cooldown specials like Moonbow and Glimmer, and this can also help her set up AoE specials for her PvE builds. Attack Speed Menace can also be an option which can work with the Ideal skill and can also help her win the speed checks, but I do like Time Pulse a lot more on Igrene because you can still get the visible buffs and visible debuffs on the opponent with other sources and other allies, but it's pretty hard to replicate what Time Pulse brings to the table for an archer, especially with Deadeye and a Tempo skill. Speed Defense Menace is not really quite available as of right now because it's way too recent of a skill from Summer Dimitri. Guinivere is going to be the highlight of this batch for a lot of people because of how unique she is. So she's a mage counter with high resistance, but she also has effective damage against mages, and this allows her to easily one-shot a lot of mages, especially if they don't have very high resistance, and her weapon Aureola can give her easy +5 attack, speed, and resistance, and she can also disable any kind of adaptive damage skills of the opponents, which means that she can take on dragons a lot easily, and this can help her competitively a lot in Ether raids. Even if she's not going to be killing the dragon units, she can just stay there as a wall and let the dragon units attack her, and then you can go ahead and collect the pots. So that's something that I've always done when I've used Guinivere, and she can also heal herself up for 7 HP and any kind of ally within 2 spaces of her after the combat. So this is also really good because she has got this AoE healing. So she's self-sufficient in that regard, and she can also help your other allies heal up. Guinivere was a really good unit to be used in Ether raids a while back, but over the time she did fall off a bit because we got a lot more green threats, and we also have a lot of physical threats against whom Guinivere does struggle against, and we also got safe tanks who can just specialize in the ranged tanking. So Guinivere did fall off a bit, and I actually used her a lot in Ether raids offense before like safe skills came in, and we got a lot more other options and a lot more threatening physical range units. So Guinivere does not have very high defense or very high HP, and her weapon doesn't really give her any kind of extra defense. So against the physical threats, she's gonna be struggling really hard, and she can easily die to them, so that's one of the downfalls of Guinivere. Not to mention now we just have the safe tanking metagame, where they can just have access to skills like Hardy Fighter, and all of the fighter skills, far save, and just protect all of their allies as well. So it does give Guinivere a bit of competition. But still, I do use Guinivere every now and again in Ether raids offense, especially against some mage heavy teams. And that's one of the reasons why she's going to be the highlight for a lot of people, because even though she has her shortcomings, she is really good against the mage heavy teams. So she can be used as a counter picking unit, and she can work as a one-off copy if you use her at unmerged or even just +1 merge by spending a Forma Soul on her. So I can already see a lot of people trying to go for her. She's not going to be getting a weapon refine anytime soon like Igrene or Spring Fir, but still she does have a pretty strong niche and a really unique weapon, and she also is really fun unit to use against those mage heavy teams. Similar to Igrene, she does have a pretty decent base kit that can work out, but still you can try and enhance this with even more premium skills and more optimal skills. So this first build is a more general build, which any kind of Guinivere will be appreciating. So you can try and get some alternate blue tomes if you just want to get them for the aesthetics. So Drifting Grace and Flora Guide are going to be some of the options. She's going to be using her preferred weapon most of the time, but still it's just an option for fun. And you can also get attack speed ideal for her Slotty because it does have good synergy with the healing that she can get from her weapon. So a lot of times she can be at full HP and make the full use out of the ideal skill. And you can also use attack speed unity with her because her weapon does require her to be near her allies, so that can work out. And attack resistance ideal is also an option, which is really rare because it's only available on Ashera, and it can work out if you're just trying to focus on stacking up her resistance. Null follow-up is by far the best lobby skill for Guinivere, and this is going to be helping her in countless matchups because so many range units and mages have auto follow-up weapons. So yeah, just denying their follow-up is going to be helping her tank them much better. And null follow-up, is available in divine codes, and it's not the hardest skill to get, but she doesn't really have too many options that you can try and go for. So that's why I would recommend null follow-up. But if you already have that on her as an avid Guinivere user, then you can try and get lull attack speed or even lull speed resistance. And special spiral could also be an option, but all of those skills kind of pale in comparison to the functionality of null follow-up overall. For her slots, you can try and get a menace skill. Attack speed menace and speed resistance menace are both pretty good options for Guinivere, and it does have good synergy with the ideal skill. And having more speed on Guinivere is always going to be helping her, especially with null follow-up. And that's why John Drive speed could also be an alternate option. If you specifically want to tailor Guinivere for Ether raids offense usage, then you can try and get this kind of build. So I've used Guinivere a lot, and you can usually just pair her up with a near save armor ally. I use Arden with her, and the reason why a near save armor can really work out well with Guinivere is because she can heal up that armor ally with the AoE healing from her weapon. So this can definitely work in the Ether raids offense and even in the Chaos season where a lot of the units are not going to be having the mythic buffs, so it's a lot easier for her to one-shot them, and she also has to face one less enemy. So this is the Ether raids offense build, and that's why a unity skill is really necessary because debuffs are really common in Ether raids. So attack resistance unity can basically help you against the resistance debuffs, which can be really threatening to her because she does not want to die to the mages that she's trying to counter, and you want to stack up a lot of attack on her so that she can just one-shot the mage foes. So that's why this unity skill does work out. You can also try and get attack speed unity if you do have plus speed IV, and if you just want to invest into her speed even more. She does have a speed super boon, so that could also be a really good option. And again, null follow-up is by far the best option, especially for Ether raids where you're going to be facing mages like Bramimond, Letizia, Duo Lift, and all of the other, mages with auto follow weapons. So that's why it's really important. For her slot C for Ether Raids, a Joint Drive skill is really good because not only she's going to be benefiting from this herself, but she can also give this buff to her near save ally. And a Menace skill is not really that good for Ether Raids offense. That's why Joint Drive is pretty much going to be my choice. She does have Joint Drive resistance by default, and that can help you in Medius or Seros matchup for that near save armor ally, but you can try and get Joint Drive attack, which can be helpful, or even Joint Drive speed. Pulse Smoke can also be an option if you want to get rid of the pre-charged specials. So that is the Guinivere Ether Raids offense optimized build, and she can definitely function as a pretty nice counter pick unit in any of the seasons, in Light Season, Astra Season, and even in the Chaos Season, which we now have recently. The final build for Guinivere is going to be for high investment and max investment, or if you plan on heavily investing into her with merges, dragon flowers, and florets. So this is going to be that build. You can try and get attack speed unity, which is already really good on her even at low investment. So at max investment, it can protect her from those debuffs. And this can also help you in the instance where she's going to be getting panicked, and because of the Speed Smoke 4, you're going to be getting the speed buff. So the speed unity part can really help you protect yourself from that. Speed Smoke 4 is a really interesting option for Guinivere that she can now have in this Hall of Forms. So this allows her to be a lot more tanky with that damage reduction. And like a lot of tanks, she can have the combo of null follow-up and the damage reduction at the same time. Now, there are definitely going to be a lot of Deadeye users. There's also, Legendary Male Byleth with Sublime Heaven, which can pierce through the damage reduction. But still, Speed Smoke 4 is going to be helping her in many of the matchups. And it's certainly a pretty nice option, especially at high or max investment. So if you're a big Guinivere fan, then this is something that you can try and get. Spring Fir is an axe flyer with Bun Bun Baton as their preferred weapon. This provides her with -1 special cooldown, and it does have the effective damage against armor units. It also gives her the full null follow-up, which definitely makes her a pretty unique unit as an armor check, because she can run Wind Sweep and take full advantage of the null follow-up and double a lot of the armor units with her effective damage. But the unfortunate part is that she doesn't really get any kind of stats from this weapon. So a lot of times, especially nowadays with the damage reduction, the guard effects, and all of the bulk that the armor units have, she can often fail to kill them even with 2 hits, especially at low investment, which most people are going to be using her at. But still, Spring Fir's weapon does allow her to function in that niche, and she's going to be getting a weapon refine in a span of a year, just like Igrene. So that is going to be enhancing her potential even more, especially if you're a big fan and if you get a copy of her. And in March of this year, we did get the free Ephemeral Manual for her, so that is going to be an easy +1 merge if you do decide to get her. So similar to Guinivere, she can work as a one-off copy and even work at low merges. And she does have attack speed solo in her slot A, but there are definitely a lot more premium skills that you can give to her. So this is going to be the main options for her. Just for fun, if you want to try and get some other weapons, then you can get Shorinken Cleaver or Springy Axe. Both of these are offensive weapons. And now for her main slot A skill, you can try and get Attack Speed Catch, which gives you the most offenses and gives you the most firepower. Surge Sparrow is also something that you can try and get, because she's mainly going to be functioning in the player phase. So the healing can be pretty nice, and you can also run Neotrace as her slot B skill, and that is pretty much going to be the best Forma skill pickup for her slot B. Even if you're going to be running Wind Sweep on her later on, a Neotrace skill is always good to grab, even just for future use, honestly, whenever she gets her weapon refined. If you have already given her the Trace skill, then Dive Bomb is an option that you can try and give her, but still most of the time she's going to be doing fine with Wind Sweep either way if you're not running a Neotrace skill. And then for her slot C, Rain skill is always going to be a consistent option for any kind of flyer, so you can pick up Speed Defense Rain, which is the perfect Rain skill for her. But still, if you want to try and explore some other options, then you can try and get Attack Defense Menace or the Tempest skills, which can give her the extra movement. The final unit from this batch is Spring Narcian, and he doesn't have a preferred weapon like the rest of the units from this batch, and he's not going to be getting any kind of refine either in the future. I would only recommend trying to get his Forma if you're trying to plus and merge him, or if you already have him at plus and merge, because there's just too much competition in the Lance Flyer category. Even though Narcian can stand out a bit because of the speed and defense that he has got compared to the other Lance Flyers, there are still other options that you can try and invest into. We recently got Marcia, and she does have a bit less defense than Narcian, but still, she does have more offenses. So Spring Narcian is not the greatest lance flyer, but if you're trying to invest into him, then this could be a good chance to just kit him out with the premium stuff. So for his weapon, Gale Fork does not really cut it, and there are definitely other premium weapons that he can try and get, like Piercing Tribute, for example, which is from Valentine Owain, and it's definitely a semi-premium option. He can get partial null follow-up from this weapon, which means that he can stop the auto follow-up attacks of the enemies, and that can definitely help you in the enemy phase and just function much better as a fast mixed phase unit, because you can deny the natural doubles from the fast units by just stacking up the speed on him, and then you can deny the auto follow-ups with Piercing Tribute. So I definitely like that option on him, and you can try and get attack speed catch, which can work in both phases and also lets you stack more speed. Neotrace is going to be the go-to option for him for a mixed phase build, like it is for most of the flyers. It does give you the debuffs in both phases and a lot easily than Wyvern Flight, and it also gives you the counter utility. And attack speed rain is going to be the consistent option that he can try and get. The attack debuff is definitely something he can make use of, especially if you ascend him for his defense boon, which is a super boon actually. So that can make him pretty bulky. And Speed Smoke 4 is also an option if you provide him with some speed support and if you want to get, a more tankier build with that damage reduction. So that is always going to be an option. And if you want to build him a lot more for the enemy phase and specifically tailoring him to use his speed and defense, which is higher than most of the lance flyers, then next build is going to be for you. Now keep in mind, this is only going to be a build I would recommend for max investment usage, because Wyvern Flight is a pretty finicky skill that requires a lot of visible stat checks. So yeah, for max investment you can run this build. Springy Lance is the weapon of choice here because it can provide you with more offenses and can also protect you from the attack and speed debuffs because of its debuff neutralization to those stats. Candy Cane is also an option if you want to get dual phase guard effect, and its Curdance is always going to be an option for a lot of flyers if you just want to build them up so that they can retaliate back with a special or something like that, or even use Gale Force with Thor or Summer Thor. But yeah, mainly with Springy Lance, he can run Steady Posture, which can provide him with the guard in the enemy phase and also provides him with more speed and defense. Attack speed unity is going to be an option if you get the Candy Cane, and if you want to have a more mixed phase approach, that is something that you can try and do. It really depends on your preference. And then for this build, you want to have Wyvern Flight as the slot B skill. So he's one of the better users of Wyvern Flight because of his speed and defense stats, and that is definitely one of the best skills that he can utilize at max investment. So Wyvern Flight does check for the visible speed and visible defense stats against the enemy, and then it proceeds to give you the debuffs to the opponent's attack and defense in combat. So that's why it does have good synergy with the new Attack Smoke 4, because it can buff you up for visible defense, and Narcian speed is actually not that bad for someone who does have high defense. So Wyvern Flight actually ends up working out much better, and this can give you even more attack debuffs than a Trace skill. So this is a more tanky build than the last one which I showed, and you need to have Attack Smoke 4 with this build so that he can prevent the auto follow-up weapons from going off with the follow-up negation. And because he can stack up a lot of speed, the follow-up negation can actually end up becoming a pretty good thing that he can make use of as a tank. So with this build, he has got debuff neutralization with his weapon, he has got the guard effect from his slotted skill, he has got a lot of attack debuffs with Attack Smoke and Wyvern Flight, and then he can get the healing from Mystic Boost and also the follow-up negation from Attack Smoke 4. So this build has got a lot of things that a tanky Narcian would need. Next month's Solo Forms is going to be having units from Blazing Sword, and these are the units which I'm kind of expecting. I can see Kanaz being one of the units because he did get his weapon refined, and there are not too many options from Blazing Sword for the red color, and every single Holo Forms batch is going to be having some kind of mage. So Kanaz can fill that role. There are also some other units that I can think of, like Carla could also happen. She did get Resplendent, but because Vital Astra is available in Holo Forms, I'm not sure if they want to do a fast infantry unit like Carla just yet. Maybe after a couple of months they might, but I'm kind of expecting Kanaz because of that reason. And Nils is also someone I'm expecting because he's present in the Divine Codes, and they have absolutely no trouble putting dancers in Holo Forms, as we have seen time and time again. So that's why I think Nils does have pretty good chance. And then Valentine Hector could be a nice green option because not only he's present in the Divine Codes, but he's also one of the few green units that is still available from Blazing Sword. They could just put Halloween Dorcas, who's definitely going to be a lot less cooler option for an axe armor, so that could happen. But Valentine Hector is definitely something I would want. And then finally, Layla could be the colorless unit because there are not too many colorless options from Blazing Sword. And Layla definitely has lost her niche because of the far save skills, which can stop her swapping of her preferred weapon. So it's annoying, and that's exactly the reason why this might be the time where they put Layla. The second batch is also an option because many times we have seen in Holo forms that they just dump the entire banners. So this is the last year's Blazing Sword banner, and I can definitely see them doing this because Urk is the merge project option and he's also the mage. Farina is the melee unit of the batch, and then Pent and Luis are a cute couple, so they can make for a nice theme. So come back to this video next month to see if I was right or wrong, and I hope you all enjoyed my Holoforms guide. If you did, then make sure to share this video with your friends if they're trying to build up any of these units from this batch. And if you enjoyed the video, then make sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously, and if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more Fae videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as mages against Guinivere. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.